Hey, what's up? This is Jake. Welcome to another lesson. Today we're doing something a little different. I want to talk to you about writing riffs and songs using exotic scales. So to demonstrate this, I'll show you basically the song that I wrote using Mixolydian flat 6. Take a quick listen to these riffs that I put together and a lead line over the top of it. So I thought that was a pretty unique sound. I've never really written an entire song in Mixolydian flat 6 before, and my intent was to make a jam track. It didn't turn out that way. It ended up turning into like what I would think of as like a Joe Satriani song. I mean, I'm not Joe Satriani, but you know, that's what I would want it to be if I was, shredding lead lines all over the top of it. And there's only 3 sections to that song, but literally it only uses the 7 notes of E Mixolydian flat 6. So if you don't know what that scale is, you'll have to check out my other video on the theory of it. Today we're just talking about how to apply scales and writing with them. So what I wanted to do is make a song with this, and the first thing I did was write out the chords of E Mixolydian flat 6. And that's all described in the other video as well. And 2 of the chords that I wanted to play with were the 1 chord, which is E major, and the 6 chord, which is C augmented. Now, I don't spend a lot of time playing with augmented chords, so I thought this would be a really good task. How do I make this augmented chord work? And after I stopped strumming around on chords, because for a while I was just doing open chords, and I really didn't like where I was going with it. So as soon as I got on my electric guitar and played like power chords and palm mutes, things started making a little bit more sense. So check it out. Here's an E power chord, and then here's a C augmented bundle with those palm mutes. And once I started palm muting the power chord versions of these things, I started realizing, okay, I can actually get something interesting out of this. So here's what it turned into total. It's basically just an E major, and I use a little bit of other notes in the scale, and then it's a C augmented, and I use a few other notes in the scale as well. But it's essentially just those 2 things. And then at the end of the riff, I do a very small scale run. That's starting on the 4th note of the scale, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so it's just 2 chords with palm mutes and power chords, 2 power chords with palm mutes, and then I do a little tiny scale run, and that's the main riff. So check out here how it sounds. All right, so I thought it was pretty interesting, especially that augmented is just awkward. I didn't want to stay on there too long, but just as a good task of learning how to play solos over it, I kept that in there. All right, so that's the main riff of this song, and then I have like a chorus section. Which is essentially just A minor to E major. So that would be a 4 chord to a 1 chord. And really, in this song that I'm presenting to you, that chord progression is really being carried by like synthesizers and chords being played in the background. I don't really have a riff. Basically what I did is just played like an A power chord, and then outlined the notes of like an A minor add 9, and then I played just a big E power chord. So I'm implying A minor to E major here on my electric, but really there's nothing too drastic going on. The synthesizers are also supporting that chord change of just minor 4 to 1, minor 4 to major 1. And then eventually I bring in my natural 7 chord, which is D major, okay? And somehow that takes me back to the 1 chord. Doesn't resolve that strongly, but this was a tricky key to work with. I really, I'm used to doing like 1 chord jams and 2 chord jams. I tried using as much as I could here, and this is what it turned into. Now, I want you to check out this section. This is really interesting stuff here, okay? This is essentially just a rhythmic pattern on 1 note, just on E. Okay? It is a pretty interesting rhythm pattern, and I thought it was fun to play. I just kind of fell out of the middle of nowhere. And the bass is doing the exact same rhythm pattern, and the guitars are just doing these palms. So just take a listen to it really quick, and then I'll walk you through what's actually happening. So the rhythm you're hearing there is 1 EN and a 3, 4, and a 2 and 3 and 4. 1 EN and a 3, 4, and a 2 and 3 and 4, 1 E and a 3, 4, and a 2 and 3 and 4, 1 E and a 3, 4, and a 2 and 3 and 4. Now, that is just one note. That's just an E, right? On top of that, we've got some organs playing some notes that really make this sound like it's in the key of E minor. But magically, there's not. There is nothing going on here that makes this in the key of E minor. But automatically, my brain, and I'm sure your brain, is hearing it as a minor section. Why? Well, there are a lot of notes from the minor scale being played right here, specifically the 7th note and the 6th note and the 5th note of an E minor scale. But there is no major third being played right now. There's no G sharp ringing out, so it's disturbing your ear. It's basically hiding the fact that this could be major from us. But it's really interesting that this section is not inherently minor. This section is still theoretically could be Mixolydian flat 6 as soon as you start playing that major third on top of it. But I really thought it was intriguing just by the rhythm itself and the choice of instruments. I have that distorted organ and these chugging power chords. It really makes this scream out to be a minor section. So in practice, if you're shredding over this, you're free to solo with a minor scale on top of this section. Why not? There's nothing in here that is telling you have to be in Mixolydian flat 6. If you really add up all these notes, it could go both ways. And you as a lead guitar player, you get to choose. Do I want to stay in Mixolydian flat 6 for this section, or do I want to go into minor because this section seems like it's asking for minor? So I thought that was pretty interesting, and I didn't really expect it to sound that way when I wrote it. I just wrote the rhythm, laid some notes on top of there on the organ, and didn't even realize I was avoiding that G sharp until I heard it, and I realized, wow, that sounds minor. And I actually had to check it to make sure I didn't throw in a note there that made it minor. But nope, it's ambiguous and it feels really minor. Okay, so really, those are the only 3 sections of this thing that I made here. And eventually, I think what I'm going to do is write guitar solos on top of the entire thing and try and turn it into a full instrumental track. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that track. I'll post it in the description without the guitar solos, so you can play along to it and use it as a jam track. And you can use the Mixolydian flat 6 scale through the entire thing in the key of E. And for that bridge section with those chugging palm mutes, you're free to explore other scale options with that as well. Okay? As far as what I'm going to do with this song, I may end up writing additional guitar solos for it and trying to release it as an entire track. But for right now, I'm just going to leave you with the guitar solo I wrote for the main riff. All right, so I hope you enjoy that, and I will see you again next time.